time. This story time is brought to you by Beano. It helps with your farts. And also ball. Ball jars being misused for millennia. Today's story time is about Install Edge. InstallEdge.com. Now, at the time, this is Larry Van Sickle and team, the guy, which is a lot of the people over at Recoil now. Install Edge, they liked Larry for that because they had just recently bought, at the time in 99, 2000, had bought Lightning Audio from Larry and Scott Dealey. And Scott stayed on to do, what's the word? I guess style consultant on a lot of the products. One of them was like the battery isolator that they offered, which was a smart type. I happened to go down there at the time when the warehouse was over in Gilbert down the street from me. And Scott was there and I was like, hey, and he's like, hey, loser, warehouse guy. That was me. And I got to see him picking out the color choices in the differences in anodizing. Because when you ask an anodizer, you're like, hey, I want these in black. There's like 5 different shades or 1,000 different shades of black that are acceptable, which is acceptable, which is not acceptable. And then they use a little color sensor to see, and you can decide how dark you are allowing it, and they'll just send it back and double dip it or whatever for anodizing. But anyways, that's a whole lot of information that I acquired from that one simple interaction. So you can do if you hang around these guys. So, and if you listen to these videos, these are all insights that I've acquired over the years and are quite valuable. So like I was listening to an interview this morning about Jonah Hill not sticking to the script. So he often improvises, and which is fine because that's what I want him to do. I want him to improvise. I want his take on the character that I write for him. But anyways, the present is Install Edge. This was Larry's project, sponsored by Rockford Corporation and his friends there. They all made a ton of money, but it was all little stuff that his company Edge specializes in, which is accessories. I don't know if I told you, the Edge was also responsible for like the stiletto that I bought for $900 back in 2007, so I could listen to Howard Stern, which I'm very grateful for, even though I bought the lifetime subscription to Sirius, and then Sirius tried to screw me out of it a couple of times. But I'm very thankful to Howard. Everything I have is because of Howard Stern. Because he introduced me to satellite, because he introduced me to national radio stations, global radio stations, really now because of the internet, that completely changed my life and got me into chill, EDM kind of stuff. And then, of course, listening to Howard, which is nothing but insights. Nothing but insights. His work is priceless, and he does fantastic interviews, and he's always trying to coach you and teach you. If you listen, coach you and teach you about the industry, people screwing you, things to watch out for, how people got started, stuff like that. And then, of course, he's able to get the best interviews out of celebrities on stuff that they normally don't talk about. Some of that is due to Howard. Some of that is due to long format and, his platform. But anyways, 2004 confidential price sheet. Let's get into it. Table of contents. Okay, so first of all, Rockford went cheap and did the old black and white with only the color outside, which is fine. It's just accessories. But it shows you a little bit about how Rockford felt about the accessories business. One of the hard parts about accessories is because the margins are actually really good, but people don't buy a lot of them. And so your total profit doesn't seem that great unless you're moving lots and lots and lots of this stuff. And so that's why it was good for Larry and Edge, not so much for Rockford. But again, Rockford has this was their last attempt at accessories and doing a specific accessories line. Again, I think the first one was Perfect Interface, and then there was and then there was Connecting Punch, And then there was this one, which is Install Edge. But so anyways, this is all pretty basic stuff. This is the fucking RG6 for cable, F-plug RCAs and stuff like that. And then you can get them either gold or nickel. Batteries, again, this is all just basic installation stuff. The reason why I liked them was because they were local. That was it. And on very specific items that I like to acquire, they were really good. And so having that and not having a real minimum, having them local was actually pretty convenient for me on specific stuff. What's funny is that buyout that I was telling you about yesterday, it was a Lightning Audio. That was a Sierra, what is it called? High Desert Audio. High Desert Audio was the eBay selling liquidation company, LLC, that Rockford had created to get rid of all their returns. So now they get rid of them out of the market, which means they just sell them to Mexico or somebody else. So that way they're not flooding the market. But for a long time, they flooded the market with a lot of returns that they got on those brands. And that's the guy bid like, I think he bid like $3,000. And so that's why when I bought him out for $3,000, he had already made back his money plus some. And then when I bought him out for $3,000, he was a banker. And so he was like, ha ha. And I was like, And then I turned that into like 10 or 12 or whatever. So diodes and resistors. But anyways, my point of that story was that I got most of my Install Edge accessories from that buyout, which was all returns. So, and what was great about this is that a lot of the stuff was all 3M. And again, 3M is just a brand. So Edge is allowed to make 3M branded connectors, and 3M has certain specifications that they say you must follow. You don't necessarily have to use their tooling, but their product, if you're going to put their name on it, has to meet certain requirements. And they're perfectly happy to put 3M on anything you want as long as you pay them. So Little Fuse is another one of those for these. Some people actually demand Little Fuse brand, but they're all pretty much the same. AGU fuses, there's no real standard on those, and these actually kind of suck. I don't like using them above 80 amp, even though they make, I think, up to 100 amp in this format. But for low stuff like 30, 40 amps, they're fine. And then you don't have to use A&O, which was kind of an expensive standard. So, and here they are selling them dealer price at $4 each, which is a lot. I think cost on those is probably 50 cents, 25 cents. So you shouldn't really be paying more than $1, but this is what they were pricing them at. And those are the format standards, 60, 80, 100. There's actually in-betweens that typically you can only get from certain people like Scotia. You used to only be able to get the 120s. And then there was another company called X-Scorpion, which I don't think is around anymore, where they would sell the 175s. And they would also sell the 175s in, I believe, mini A&L format as well. And then last time I checked, X-Scorpion was only using wholesale houses as a distributor. So again, same products, good, fine quality out of China. Just X-Scorpion was cheaper, and that's why I used them. And that's why I knew about them. I was like, oh, this is good. So, because like Rockford wants, how much for this? This is a 10 gauge. This is all copper. And then you just cut it right there. And then you put one end on the battery, and then the other end you put a little butt connector, which I don't like to use, but that's the way it was. That's the 10 gauge. Let's see how much they wanted. 10 gauge. Why they put 10 gauge in the middle of it should go 10, 12, 16, and then 18, but 10 gauge, 10 piece bag, $1 each. That's not bad. That's about what you should pay. Then they also make that in a bigger format under the Maxi format. So MAXI. Those Maxi was the format for that was made popular on the PPI amps. That's a little more reliable than the ATC, which is this is the Maxi. This is ATC. And then there's mini ATC and mini ATC, which is used by different car companies. But Maxi was used by PPI on the Art series. That's the ones that put it on the side. And then later, and it's still used by Hyphonics on their amplifiers, which I would love to know what the name of the build house is for Hyphonics. Because again, that was, I think I've told you about that, guys. Back when Lightning Audio was first acquired, they started importing stuff that was made, of course, in China, but was not so stylish the way that Michael Johnson had designed originally for Larry and Scott at Lightning Audio. And I remember getting one of the LA 3000D amps, which is just a Hardy 1500 watt amp. And I opened it up and looked at the guts, and it was actually said Hyphonics on it, and they just put some black tape over it. So, Rockford's not above doing that. So even though under the Rockford brand, that would never happen, but under the Lightning brand, it's like, oh, they're our bitch. We can just order Hyphonics amps and put the Lightning Audio brand on them. So mobile adhesives, again, the same stuff, hot glue sticks, stuff like that. This is, of course, you recognize that bottle. That's, what's her name? Aileen's glue. So again, they just repackage it, repurpose it. Crimp caps. I got to order some of these today. I'm going to be looking online to find those. I do not like butt connectors because it relies on this as your conductor. And so it relies on two crimps, which I don't like. I like these better because it's wire to wire. And then you crimp that. There's a little brass ring in there that sort of holds it and pinches it together. But I like these better, just so you know. On bigger ones, you can use butt connectors. Again, I don't like to use crimp types. I like to use, it's like, say, 8 gauge and bigger, I like to use ones that use set screws, just because sometimes they need tightening. Sometimes you need modifications. Sometimes you use them as a distribution point. The only time I do use these in a jam is like, let's say you're distributing the remote wire for an amp. So what I'll do is I'll take the root, because these are typically, you buy them in, the ones that I get anyway, or have inherited are the blue ones, which are 16, 14 gauge. And remote wire is typically 18 gauge. So what you do is you strip off both wires for the 18 gauge, twist them together, and then stick it in one side. And then it works like a crimp cap. And then what it also does is it future-proofs your distribution point, because then you can use the other side. So again, that's just a little install tip that I use. The other thing is that I often will use the terminals on the amplifier as a distribution point rather than sell somebody a distribution block. Again, not that I'm against distribution blocks, just it adds to that bill and people get upset. And so I don't want to do that. I want to help them save money. So now, again, I get 3 strikes. If people want a distribution block and they want it to look all pretty, then I'm like, oh, here you go, do it yourself. Get out of my face. The one thing I did like about Install Edge was they imported F-mods. So F-mods is actually a copyright. Is it copyright? Trademark. F-mods is a trademark of Harrison Labs. And for a minute, I was selling debadged versions of these on eBay, and they yelled at me. They're like, hey, you can't use the word F-mod. I was like, I can. So, but it was like that time I got in a fight with, what's his name? BK Butler, that douchebag, that hack, that piece of shit. He yelled at me for using the tube driver name on eBay. And I was like, you're the one that sold your soul to PPI, not me. And he's like, well, that was only for a limited time agreement and all this kind of. I was like, shut the fuck up. Fuck you. I was like, these are for PPI tube driver amps. They're not for tube driver amps. Duh. I was like, and also, don't you want to attract rich people that love Billy Gibbs from ZZ Tops? Not because he paid Billy a bunch of money to be the spokesman for Tube Driver Blue. And I was like, your customer shouldn't be on eBay anyway. And he's like, and then, yeah, silence. Fuck you. Fucking dick. Be yelling at me. Talking about, he's the dickhead that he made this really shitty tube amp. This was Phase, what was it called? Phase Driver. Was it Phase Driver? Oh, Linear, no, it wasn't Linear Phase. That's Bob Carver. I think it was called Phase Driver. It was before the tube driver thing. And I think he was using PPI's resources to import stuff, drivers and stuff like that. He imported some aluminum drivers and stuff like that. And then later he did a deal with PPI to actually make a PPI tube driver amplifier series, which I have a ton of that shit if you want it. Heat sinks, hold down rails. I do have a couple of boards. The shrouds I have a bunch of, stuff like that. I've been meaning to post it on the new forum. I'll put a link to it in the description, which is oh, I forgot his name, Chris Smorn. He just started a new Facebook forum to post broken old school items and parts and things like that, which is a really great idea because sometimes like when I post my JL stuff into the JL forums, a lot of those guys get mad, even though they're like, this is not a real JL product. I'm like, it uses a JL motor, fuck off. So, but anyways, Chris had created that, and you guys, I'll put a link to it in the description. You guys can join that and find all kinds of cool deals that I'm going to post on there. So, because that's really where it belongs. It's old school, but it's like, it's not, mint. And there's some forums that specialize in that, where it has to be in the original packaging, has to have the birth certificate, blah, 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 has to have been touched by Mark Fukuda's nuts or whatever. So anyways, so again, this is all just the basic same stuff that Larry has always imported and sold, because the margins are really good, but you have to do a lot of volume in order to really make a nice profit. But what it does is for the dealer network that Rockford had, which was that it fills in the gaps. So there, it takes away the business that was normally fed to Metra or Micro Alarm or these other ones, Mobile Solutions or Select Products. It takes away money from them. What's funny about Larry is Larry would then use Edge to build for those companies too. For those companies too. Like they are like the largest manufacturer for Metra products. So Edge is anyway, not Larry, but so. This is the other thing that I like. Nobody offered these for a while, which was the 4-gauge crimp terminals that I use on the recoil amps and things like that. Sometimes, especially the Boston, the SSL amps, they would use the larger head, which I think is it's like an M6 bolt. You'd also see them on the Pioneer amps. In fact, I don't even use distribution blocks there too. I use 2 of these forks and I put them back to back and use that as a distribution point as well. Again, anything to avoid distribution blocks. I've also seen a lot of distribution blocks burnt up and melted and stuff like that. And people go, what happened? It's like, well, it helps if you make as little connection as possible. This is the big one that I got. I got like 3 boxes of this. And then where's the other one? I still have a ton of them. It's the Bullet connectors. It's the red ones. So they're 18 gauge. These guys. So I have a shit ton of these. They come in a pack of 24. For a while I was selling them on eBay, but again, I just give them away. If you guys want some, just request it in your next order and I'll throw in a bag. Otherwise, they're typically, the biggest fan group that I've seen, a consumer of these, was RC guys, the RC cars, RC planes, where you need something small, compact, and then it's also detachable. Typically, they use this guy, and sometimes these are more expensive and stuff like that. And I was basically giving these away for like $1 a pack, which is priced right, especially when dealer cost is what, $3.75 for a pack of 100 or something like that. So I'm just doing for $1 for 24, and you get I think 12 male and 12 female. So anyways, I have those. Again, now I didn't sell everything. I ended up selling a lot of this stuff to a guy in California that sells on eBay. I think he only does it part-time. I forget his username, but you meet all kinds of different people online. Where were we at? We're at wire. It's all primary wire, speaker wire, and then of course the wire kits. And the only thing that made these unique was that they were clear, so you could see the copper in them. That was kind of cool. So let's look at what a 1200 watt, $20, pretty good. It's probably CCA. Doesn't even say. It doesn't even say. So what's the difference between that 1200 watt AC? This is probably premium. This is probably copper, and this is probably CCA. Because if you notice the PK4, that's exactly what Larry calls his new shit. So, which is it's premium copper kit or something like that. And then they have the ICE PK4, and those are only $16. So remember, this was from 04. So inflation has taken a little bit. The other thing that I used to buy was these, the IEC ALC1, which of course is just, if you go like that, it's LC1, which is exactly what he sells PAC and everybody else. That's what they call it. And they were only $10 each, and I would sell them for $20. And then if you bought a pack of 10, you can buy a pack of 10 for like $85. Again, at the time, dealerships were selling these for like $50 each. And then I looked like a hero selling them for $20 each. Carpet, again, Larry was importing all that kind of stuff from China back when he ran Lightning. And then, of course, these were always cool. I always thought these were handy. The automatic ones are actually a little more dangerous, but they're just kind of handy. Again, I don't recommend circuit breakers in general, just because they don't always work. This was the biggest fire starter, and I recently saw Rockford bring those back. Hopefully they engineered them in a way that they actually work. They are convenient, but I don't like that. I prefer a fuse. Just because, you know, sometimes when you would short this on purpose, it wouldn't pop. That is a problem. That's a fire waiting to happen. This one definitely popped, because I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I go, did I touch? Yeah, doesn't work anymore. So, but let's see what else. Ring terminals, power inverters. They, you know, you get into all kinds of weird accessories that you know, somebody wants to run a TV in their car and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course, the ring terminals. The other thing that I liked about them is they would offer gold or nickel, and at the time nobody would offer nickel because gold was seen as a premium. What was great about what Larry did with Lightning Audio was he made nickel a premium, because he said it was platinum. Platinum series, platinum in name, but just all nickel. But I thought that was a really great way to turn your you know, your weakness into a strength. So, and of course, then you offer the 3M version, which is, you know, they just have standards. It's not really 3M. 3M is just a brand. It's an R&D company that has other people to market their shit. Seal the subwoofer enclosures, a dual 10-inch, $35. This was a really great deal because, again, if you lived on the other side of the country, this can be very expensive and you have to order a pallet. I just would go down and pick them up, even though at the time I think you could find that price virtually anywhere. So, typical shape, you find it. Micro box terminals again. This was actually a very tough thing for me to find in the 90s. Like, you could not go to a car audio shop and buy one. Like, they either just didn't have them, or they're like, who are you? Why would you want to sell it? I'm like, I'm making my own box. That was also, you know, something nobody did. You would just either come out the port, but of course you had to make sure you were porting correctly. But I didn't do that because I didn't have that much math skills at the time. I was probably 15, 16. And so you just make a sealed box, and then you cock the old wire out the butthole, and that was it. So, and of course that looks fucking riggedy, jankety, hillbilly, you know, and this is proper, even though if you put too much on that, it fucking melts it. And that's why you'd have to have the Steve Mead. Again, that reminds me, I got to go talk to Larry about importing the Steve Mead knockoff shit. And then, of course, the pop, point of purchase merchandise, promotional type of stuff, and you can have a polo and all that kind of stuff. And then, oh, you could even, what is it? Yeah, this was all just the wire rack stuff and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, that was Rockford's last attempt at Rockford Corporation. Over there, look at that. What is the address? A division of Rockford Corporation. I just think it's so funny when sometimes these stories that I tell you guys, people don't believe me. I'm like, you don't have to. I lived it. These are all war stories, but I love you guys. I got to get busy. It's already 2:30 and I got I'll probably keep packing orders until 6. Love you. Have a good weekend. Love one another.